Aloha everyone, and welcome to week 3 of ʻIke Lawaiʻa 2021. The theme of this week is Hana Lawaiʻa. So like we learned in previous weeks, Hana is relating to work. Lawaiʻa typically means fisherman, but Hana Lawaiʻa can be relating to fish pond work, to fishing itself, handline, but it can also be related to diving. So Hana Lawaiʻa is not restricted to just pole fishing. It's relating to anything having to do with our kai. And so we're going to be sharing some ʻōlelo this week about stories of how people have interacted with the ocean for many generations. So we have a traditional story, but also more recent interactions with kai. And then we can start to think about how we want to interact with our oceans and the legacy that we want to leave so that our children's children will still have access to abundant fish and other ocean resources. And so when we go back to the theme of our program this year, Hana Lawaiʻa, we can think about how the ocean itself actually encircles our island like a lei. And it also provides so much abundance for our people now, but for people who are living here for centuries, right? So just as aina is that which feeds, aina is more than just land. So we think of aina sometimes just as what we plant in or what we can grow in, but aina, if we think about it as that which feeds us, kai is also aina because it provides so much abundance for us in terms of fish and limu and other types of food sources for our community. And so we're really lucky to have so many of these resources still available to us, but it is definitely still our responsibility to care for this, care for the kai as it has cared for us for many generations, and so that future generations can also access these resources. And something that we think is very special about the kai and how vast it is that it really truly connects us all. When we think about the Pai'aina itself, just across the channel here, we can see Ko'olave and Maui, and in the distance is, you can even see Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa today. And so kai is something that binds us all together, even though we might be from different islands or different places. Kai is something that connects. And so when we think of Hana Lawaiʻa, we can think of how people have stewarded the kai and provided for their communities, but have also left enough so that future generations can thrive on this land as well. So, whether you folks are fisher people in your own families and are going out fishing on the weekends, that's excellent. If it's a way to help, put fish on the table for your dinner, that's excellent. And we encourage you folks to be able to keep up that practice of fishing, but definitely some commercial fishing practices have gotten worse through the years. So even just behind me now, you can see 2 or 3 fishing boats, that have come over from other islands and are fishing on the reefs. And something that we really want to share with you folks is that commercial fishing on its own may not be bad, but the way that it impacts our resources can potentially be negative. So in particular, overfishing of our resources, there's such a balance that needs to be struck in nature where fish are able to regenerate so that they can breed and then have the next generation of fish. But in modern times, overfishing has led to a lot of depletion or a lack of resources being available. And so even though we like to eat fish and buy fish from the store, it's really important for us to think about where that fish is coming from and if it is being taken from the ocean in a sustainable way. So even if you have your family that goes diving or fishing on the weekends, I encourage you folks to think about, do we really need to fish take 40 fish out of the ocean right now, or do we just need a few for the night and then leave the rest in the ocean? Something that we always like to share is that fish don't breed in the freezer, right? So if we want to make sure that people after us have access to the same fish that we have in our waters now, we need to let the fish be there so that they can continue to regenerate, and that is a sustainable practice that Hawaiians knew that we can try to bring back. A mo'olelo associated with Hana Lawaiʻa here on Lanai is that of ʻAiʻai, who is the son of Ku'ula Kai and Hina, both Hawaiian gods who are associated with fishing. And so he grew up in Hana on Maui, and he was an excellent fisherman. It was said that he would make ko'a, or shrines, that were dedicated to his dad Ku'ula Kai, and that it would bring abundance of fish to the communities. And so ʻAiʻai went around to different places on Hawaii and shared his knowledge of fishing with the people. After a visit to Ko'olave across the channel, he made his way here to Lanai, and he fished here at Kaunulu. He had a very special fish hook, or pauhi, made out of pearl, and it was said he would fish off the shores of Kaunulu here and do some aku fishing with his special hook. After his visit to Kaunulu, he went on up north to visit Polihua. From Kaunulu, Ai ventured to the northern area of Lanai in the Ahua'a of Ka'a, where we are today. When he arrived, he was on the beach and picked up a stone. He carved a figure on it and placed it on the sand. He began to offer oli, or chants, calling to the spirits of his parents. The stone moved itself into the water, and when he finished chanting, the stone reappeared, moving till it reached its original position on the sand. At that moment, the stone transformed into a honu, or a Hawaiian green sea turtle. It is said that this honu was the first turtle to touch Hawaiian shores. It is said that turtles come up onto the sand to lay their eggs because of this mo'olelo, so it's fitting that the area that we are now is called Polihua, or Cove of Eggs.
Okay, so we know that you folks, modern Lawaiʻa, those of you guys who like to go fishing today, still like to catch uhu, right? That's a prized fish for us, whether that be with your spear gun or your 3-prong. But did you folks know that traditionally uhu fishing was also a well-known practice on Lanai? It was what Lanai people were known to be really, really expert at. Of course, it looked a little bit different back then. What they would do was first catch the first uhu, which they called the uhu pakahi, and use it as their decoy fish, or what we use today as like lures, to attract other kinds of fish to it. So once they had their uhu pakahi, they would take their boats and sail out. They would lower the decoy into the ocean and then watch as it attracts other uhu to it. Once they saw other uhu swimming in that area, then they would lower their net. So they would use a net that was 2 sticks of ulei, or the wood rose, and then attach cordage to the 4 corners with 1 piece of cordage in the middle, so that when the fishermen put the net down, that they could pull it up really quickly and then capture all the rest of the fish out there. And so this oral history account comes to us from the Ahupua'a of Ka'ohai, and these are the shores of Ka'ohai that we are on right now. And so from that account, it tells us that anywhere from 10 to 30 uhu could be caught in a day. So that teaches us that that was a very viable option of sustainability and sustenance for this community, and Lanai people were so skilled and expert at catching uhu.